Hey folks, welcome to the Wealth Transfer with TC. Today I want to touch on some important topics dealing with the wealth transfer, and I also want to talk about some of the recent excitement, the multiple dreams and visions, and the hype around what's going on with Shiba Inu right now, and kind of make some corrections and clarify some things. I'm also going to talk about some pitfalls dealing with the wealth transfer, folks, because we are so close to the wealth transfer, and for a lot of people, Luna Classic is the first test, and then also Shiba Inu is also a test for other people too as well. Now, before I get into this, folks, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing information, giving you my thoughts and my opinions on that information. So if you guys like these videos that I make, the support links are down below in the description and also the About section of YouTube. Now, folks, I've been involved with the wealth transfer for a very long time. I first heard about the wealth transfer back in 2009 when I first started buying Iraqi dinar. Right, and still to this day, we are still waiting on the Iraqi dinar to revalue. There are multiple prophecies. At some point down the road in the future, it will revalue and will take place during a time period when things seem at their worst. But one thing needs to be clear is that Shiba Inu is not the wealth transfer. It is one of the wealth transfers or one of the prophetic investments that God wants us to give in the overall scheme of the wealth transfer. I believe, according to all the prophecies I've studied over the years, that the wealth transfer is at least 3 years long. That means from the beginning of the wealth transfer, which I believe September is that month, dealing with Luna Classic, and it will continue on. And with all the different investments that God has shown people. Now, folks, the wealth transfer isn't just cryptocurrency. It's also the stock market, the bond market, the fiat market, the precious metal market, and other markets. You know, and not everybody is well versed in all the other markets, but God is showing people wealth transfers in other parts of the financial realm that me and you may not necessarily understand. So a lot of people have been saying that Shiba Inu is the wealth transfer, and it's not. So I want to make sure to make that clear that Shiba Inu is not the wealth transfer. There are multiple wealth transfers. And for those of you who have just heard about the Shiba Inu word over the last 30 days and you've been investing in it, that is not the only prophetic investment. And so the wealth transfer is multiple investments. And what is the purpose of the wealth transfer is to build God's kingdom. Okay, that's the first priority. After all that, it becomes getting yourself out of debt, getting your family out of debt, preparing for your future, your children's future, your ministry. And your ministry is what helps build God's kingdom. And if you don't know what your ministry is, then you need to research ministries that are doing the work of God. And that could be a lot of different things. That could be anywhere from street ministries, right? There's a lot of street ministries out there that they go in the areas that you will not go to preach. There are places that give away food, and they go to places that you will not go. And so even if you're still unsure in the beginning of this, it's one of the things that you can do is support other ministries that are doing the work of God. But also don't forget your own storehouse. There's going to be a lot of people that get hurt in this wealth transfer, and people are getting hurt now as we see what's going on with our current financial system. And we know that there are food shortages coming, and we know that there is going to be a meltdown of the financial system, and you need to be prepped and prepared. You can't just put all your eggs in one basket and think Shiba Inu is going to be everything, but it's just part of it. Now you can get your Shiba Inu, cash it out when the time comes, and be done with that wealth transfer. But for most of us that have been doing this for a long period of time, we know that there are multiple wealth transfers that are going to happen. And, you know, I believe that at some point when fiat does crash, that the Iraqi dinar will change in value. And that's going to bring about another age within the wealth transfer. I think right now, a lot of it this has to deal with is crypto. And one of the most interesting things is there's a lot of hype around Shiba Inu, but Luna Classic is one of the prophetic investments that just came in May, and yet it's going to be one of the first ones to take off. You know how that saying is, the last shall be first and the first shall be last. The Iraqi dinar was the first, right? So there might be something there to that. So if you've been following this channel for a long period of time, you guys already know that the wealth transfer is just not one investment, it's multiple investments. So I've even been going to different people's YouTubers and trying to correct them about Shiba Inu is not the wealth transfer. It's just one of the prophetic investments that's a part of the wealth transfer. You know, some of these channels that have been recently talking about it and prophesying about it and all this stuff. I have, on some of those channels, I have been telling them about it, but they never pay attention to any of my comments. So it's interesting that all of a sudden now they're picking it up, but this is what that means. And if people are receiving prophetic dreams and visions, what usually happens and what I've seen in the wealth transfer community, because we had a massive amount of Shiba Inu prophetic wealth transfer dreams in the year of 2021. And when it starts off with one, then it just kind of exploded. And we're seeing the same thing here. And so Shiba Inu is not necessarily a distraction, because we should have already reached our goals. We've been knowing about Shiba Inu, since last year. And we were already in September of 2022. So I've seen at least 3 different videos about Shiba Inu being a distraction. And it is somewhat a distraction to the people who have been in this for a long time. It's encouraging that we know that Shiba Inu is getting ready to take off, but we've been knowing this for some time. We were just waiting for that time period. People have already been saying August, September, October. And we got a lot of the news in August of what was going to be happening with Shiba and Luna and some of the other cryptocurrencies. So it's nothing new to us. And so for those of you who are just now finding out about Shiba Inu, and that's your only investment, folks, there's a lot more to the wealth transfer than that. And I've been seeing some other videos, and I don't feel quite comfortable showing those. So if I don't show somebody that has a very important dream, it's just because I don't have a good feeling about that particular person. But I will say this, that what has happened with Shiba Inu in the last 30 days, which has been God has poured out his spirit about what he's doing within the wealth transfer dealing with Shiba Inu. So that spirit was poured out, and all these different people were having different dreams that basically confirm everything else that we've already been saying. We put together all these pricing points, and they're saying the same thing, but it's for a different type of people, different type of generation. And so it's only a distraction if we let it to be a distraction. And so a lot of those people don't know what the wealth transfer is. So when you go on these videos and you see these different people prophesying, tell them what is really going on. Folks, and this is going to be a test for a lot of people, what's going on with Luna Classic and Shiba Inu. Luna Classic is for those of you who've already been in the wealth transfer some time, especially if you've been involved for at least 4 to 5 months. You already know that you were supposed to stack up on Luna Classic, and then also too Shiba Inu and some other prophetic coins. And so for us, it is a test, and it's a test to our hearts. And when this money starts coming in, what are we doing? Are we paying off our debts? Are we setting up our ministry? Are we setting up our storehouse? Right? Because we're going to go through bad financial times. So this is a test. Are you going to fill up your garage with food and water and everything else that you need to last, at least 6 months? Food crisis is going on all over the world right now. How much longer is it going to be before it's here? This is a test, because it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you can't go to the grocery store and buy food, you're not going to eat whether you have money or not. And so we got to be careful of some of these pitfalls. And some of those, like making promises to God. And if you are new to the wealth transfer, do not do that. I did it when I first started getting into the dinar and the wealth transfer. And some of those promises that I made, I still have to keep because I did make those promises. And you don't want to try to break your promises. Some promises, unfortunately, will be broken because there's no way to fulfill that promise. But we don't want to make any more new promises to God. We don't want to make any new promises to people. Mom, dad, brother, sister, girlfriend, wife, husband, when Shiba Inu reaches this point, then I'm going to do all this and do that. Don't do that. Because when it doesn't work out for you and you make mistakes, and then next thing you know it, you're looking like a fool. I've already been through all of that. Making promises not just to God, but to people. So, but now my time is coming, and I'm going to be able to fulfill a lot of those promises. And that's another thing, is to make sure that you do go and fulfill your promises. If you did make promises to God, if you did make promises to other people, especially when it comes to finances, then do your best. There may have been times where you didn't pay people back, or you did people wrong. Whatever the case, when you're in the world, if there's a lot of things that you have done that you can make it up through the finances, then that's something that you should do. That's what I feel like. I was in the world once. I did a lot of people dirty when I was growing up. And I feel like to a certain extent that, especially if there was a financial loss, that I'm going to fix that. So I want you guys to get too excited if you are brand new to Shiba Inu, don't get too excited, because this is not something that is going to be easy to deal with. Not everybody can handle wealth. And so if you want to know some of the other pitfalls, you can watch that show. It deals with people that coming into instant wealth. I think it's How I Won the Lottery or something like that, dealing with people who have won the lottery and all the pitfalls. And a lot of you are going to come into instant wealth. And it's going to change the lives of your friends, your family, your loved ones, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife. And let me speak to the wives, because when your family comes into this wealth, if you allow your husband to go out and buy a nice fancy car and you're dressing him up in the tightest outfits and the most expensive outfits, you know what's going to happen? If you thought temptation was bad, now wait till after that money hits. Okay, there's going to be a lot of temptations. People are still involved in a lot of things and still need deliverance. And with that finance is going to come a lot of, it can exaggerate the things that you're involved with. If you're an alcoholic, you could drink more, right? If you're addicted to drugs, if you like to do cocaine every now and then, well, now you got all this money, you can do it all the time. There's a lot of pitfalls that could happen if you have not got your life straightened out by this point that you receive this wealth. Right now, because of the economic climate that we're in, you got to remember your own storehouse. You got to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, your friends, and your family, and your ministry. And if you belong to a church, hopefully you have shared this information about the wealth transfer, and that you have a plan that when you do have this money, that you're able to help your church grow within the community and support the community. And if you have a church that does not want to support the community or outreach to the poor, and they want to help widows and so forth, you know exactly what I'm saying. If they don't want to do that, it's going to make you rethink your relationship with your own church. And I think when the finances come in and you're able to go sit down and talk to your pastor or talk to your leader what you want to do, you may find out that that church is not for you. And you don't want to be spreading your business out there like that. I got this money, that money. There's going to be people in the church that the moment they cash out on Shiba Inu, they're going to go get their Mercedes, they're going to go get their rims, and they're going to go get decked out and then come to church and show off what they got. Those are the people that will not make it through the wealth transfer. Especially in certain communities, we've been conditioned to think that we got to have and bling and flash our wealth. And in the political and economic climate that we're in, it's probably not a good idea to drive around a Lamborghini and then have people follow you home to see where you live, and they break into your home because they think you're rich, and they want to kidnap you and do whatever until you give them a bunch of money. And trust me, it happens. It does happen. I've did videos on that stuff. And if you're new, folks, you guys need to make sure that you are praying and that you are putting yourself in a position of learning how to trade. If you have only put in buy orders to buy all the cryptos and you've never sold, or you've never swung trade, or you never day traded, okay, trying to follow all these different pricing points is going to be a nightmare. And your emotions are going to fluctuate with the markets, because you know what? I was in that position at one time, just dealing with stock in the stock market. And so you have to be prepared mentally, physically, emotionally. A lot of us that have been in this for a long time, we have conditioned ourselves. I'm not excited anymore, like in the way that I used to be. Just like this meme. They don't know. I've already been through the wealth transfer excitement. I've did all that. I've went and looked at $1 million homes and cars and all that stuff because I thought the dinar was going to revalue in 2009. That's what I was told. And then I was told in 2010 and 2011, all that excitement, and it's made me reflect and change and listen to other prophets and dreamers about what God wants us to do with the wealth transfer, because I was excited too. And this is a representation of these people here. They're dancing because they're hearing about Shiba Inu, and they don't understand that it's not just about Shiba Inu. If you can't handle your wealth, it could kill you. All right, your relationship with your friends and family are gonna change. And don't try to show off. And because of the economic climate that we're in, you're not going to go out and buy Lamborghinis and buy multi-million-dollar homes. What for? When the housing market is obviously going to crash. There are prophetic dreams. So that $3 million house you're hoping to buy, when the Shiba Inu reaches $1, guess what? You could buy it for $500,000 instead of $3 million. But you know what? You had to have it, so you had to spend that money. Right? So you need to be frugal with what you have. There's a lot of people that need to move out of their apartment. There's a lot of people that need to move out of the hood, but you don't need to move from the hood to a $4 or $5 million mansion. And in this wealth transfer, you might have to move money around. So you need to be learning and preparing yourself, learning how to trade, learning to know how crypto works and economics works and all this. And you also need to be able to go in at a moment's notice because, there are people that are prophesying that they've missed some of these wealth transfers because they didn't have their sell limit orders in. I'm talking about not just one person, multiple people have had dreams and visions that they missed some of these pricing points because they didn't put in their sell limit orders. Right? And there are going to be times that you're not going to be able to log in into, if there's a lot of volatility, it might be difficult sometimes to log in, or these things might happen in the middle of the night when you're asleep. So I just wanted to bring these points up because, we have a lot that's going to be happening in September. We had the Luna Classic burns. We have everything dealing with our economy, dealing with the Federal Reserve and the inflation numbers. And then we have the Ethereum merge, Shiba Eternity. We have the ADA fork. There's a lot of things that are happening in the month of September. So you guys need to be ready and be prepared. God might wake you up in the middle of the night to go in and place a buy or a sell order. And if you don't know how to do that quickly and efficiently, you're going to end up messing up. And I will say this, with all this excitement dealing with Shiba Inu and all these new prophets and prophecies coming forth, with that, not only do you get the good, but you get the bad too. And there are wolves in sheep clothing. And now with this whole new group of people that are prophesying and having dreams and visions, now I'm starting to think that one of them is really off. And I'm not going to say who it is, but there's something that I see that nobody else is seeing. Because if you don't believe that there are false prophets that are within the wealth transfer, and you think all these people out here talking about the wealth transfer are all for the glory of God, you're mistaken. Even out of 12 disciples, there was a false one. All right, so with this new group of people prophesying and dreams and visions, some of these prophets are doing it for their own personal gain, and they're watching these videos just like it was before, and they're making up their dreams and visions. I mean, you could tell by the way people talk and put things together when you compare it to other people who have real dreams and visions, and a lot of people don't see it. But, I'm not going to say any more about that because we are on the verge. And you know what? If some of you guys want to go back to your vomit, because some of you know who the ones that are more accurate than others, some of them are very inaccurate. And if you guys want to continue to go back to the vomit, that's up to you. But I will say this, that some of those people who are involved with some of these false prophets, you're going to end up getting a prophecy and you're going to end up making a mistake because you return back to your vomit. You return back to the false prophets because you have itchy ears. And all I ever try to do on this channel is try to bring you guys the information, bring you my thoughts and my opinions. And that's why it's important for you guys to pray so God can give you insight. I can admit here that I've not always been correct. I give you my thoughts and my opinions. I don't sit here and give you prophecies. But you know what? I've actually had a lot of prophecies come to pass, but you guys wouldn't know because I don't say that it's a prophecy. And the other thing I just want to say, folks, when I talk about all these different things, I'm talking to myself too, because I'm still learning. And by the time the end of this wealth transfer is over, hopefully I make it all the way through, there should be no excuse why I should not be a multi-billionaire. No excuse. There should be no excuse as far as using those funds for the kingdom of God. So that is all that I have for today, folks. I thank you guys for listening. God bless.